In early November 2025, a serious announcement created widespread worry across the United States. Many people felt an immediate and deep impact. Suddenly, hundreds of flights were canceled at busy airports all over the country. This action meant that millions of travelers saw their plans completely fall apart. Their important trips for work, family visits, or holidays were now in complete chaos. It quickly became a very stressful time for everyone who relied on air travel. Families worried intensely about missing important gatherings like Thanksgiving. Business travelers found it impossible to reach their crucial meetings. The normal flow of daily life for countless Americans was disrupted. This massive problem with air travel did not appear without reason. It was a direct result of a government shutdown that had been ongoing for many weeks. This shutdown had become the longest in American history. This book will explain how this crisis developed. It is the story of how a government shutdown in November 2025 pushed the entire U.S. aviation system to its breaking point. Essential workers, like air traffic controllers who guide planes safely, were forced to work without receiving pay. Their crucial work keeps everyone secure, but the shutdown made their jobs nearly impossible. We will examine what happened, how it affected these vital workers, ordinary travelers, and the nation's ability to fly safely and reliably. This period marked a truly critical moment for American air travel. 2. No pay, no flights. The United States government shutdown entered its 36th day. This was a record for the country. For more than 1 month, thousands of essential workers had to do their jobs without pay. Among them were around 13,000 air traffic controllers. These vital people guide planes safely through the skies and on the ground. Also, 50,000 Transportation Security Administration officers worked at airports, making sure everyone was safe. None of these workers received their regular paychecks. The situation caused huge financial stress for these federal employees. They missed their first full pay in October. When the next payday arrived, their accounts were still empty. Bills like rent, mortgages, and food costs continued. Many families found it hard to buy basic things. Controllers described their feelings as dire, frustrating, and disheartening because of this crisis. To make ends meet, many controllers and officers took on second jobs. They became drivers for ride-sharing services or delivered food. Some even found work in private security. They often worked their demanding government jobs for long hours, then went to another job. This meant they had little time to rest. They were often too tired or stressed to perform their highly important tasks. This exhaustion and worry led to dangerous staff shortages. More and more controllers called in sick. They were simply too tired or too worried about their families to work safely. This created big problems for the entire aviation system. Many major air traffic control facilities had 20 to 40% of their staff absent. For example, on the Halloween weekend, a shocking 80% of controllers in the New York area could not come to work. Nearly half of all major air traffic control centers reported they did not have enough people. This lack of staff made the skies less safe and caused many flight delays. Over 5,000 flights were delayed during Halloween weekend alone. The system was already understaffed before the shutdown, meaning controllers often worked mandatory overtime. The shutdown pushed this already weak system to its breaking point. People who kept the skies safe were in trouble, and this directly impacted the safety and reliability of air travel across the nation. 3. The government stops. The government stopped working in October 2025. This happened because politicians in Washington, D.C. could not agree on a new plan for how to spend the country's money. This plan is called a budget. Without a budget, many parts of the government could not get money to operate. There was a big disagreement between the two main political parties, the Democrats and the Republicans. Their main argument was about health care funding. Democrats wanted to continue a program that helped many Americans pay for their health insurance. This program was going to end soon, and Democrats believed it was very important to keep it going. They also wanted to make sure that money for other health services was protected. But Republicans had different ideas. They did not want to include these specific health care plans in the new budget bill. They wanted a simpler bill that just kept spending at the same levels as before, without adding new policies or expanding ones. Both parties thought their ideas were best for the country and did not want to change their minds. This strong political fight meant that no agreement could be reached. Because they could not agree, the government officially shut down. This meant many government offices closed, and many federal workers did not receive their paychecks. The shutdown continued for a long time. In early November 2025, it had been 36 days since the government stopped. This was longer than any other government shutdown in modern times. This problem in Washington, D.C. had big effects on the entire country. The disagreement between politicians about how to spend money on health care caused many difficult situations for people everywhere. It showed how political decisions in the Capitol could quickly change the daily lives of millions of Americans. 4. Big problems, big numbers. The problems from the government shutdown were very big. We can see how big by looking at the numbers. The government gave an order to cut flights. This order came from the Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy announced it. Starting on November 7th, flights would be cut by 10%. This cut was for 40 of the largest airports in the United States. These cuts meant a lot of trouble for travelers. Each day, nearly 1,800 flights could be canceled. This also meant that over 268,000 seats for passengers would not be available. The changes started slowly. On Friday, 4% of flights were cut. Then, on Saturday, it was 5%. and on Sunday 6%. This would go up to 8% the next week, and then 10% if the shutdown did not end. Before the official cuts began, airlines had already canceled about 500 flights. They had to get ready for the new rules. These 40 airports were very important. They included places like Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International, which is the busiest airport in the world. Other big airports affected were in New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Dallas, and Miami. Many people across the country felt these changes. The shutdown did not just stop flights. It also cost a lot of money. The U.S. economy was losing about $15 billion every week because of the shutdown. This was a huge amount of money. Even package deliveries faced problems. 2 big delivery centers for FedEx in Memphis and UPS in Louisville were on the list of affected airports. This could mean your packages would be late, especially before the holidays. The numbers showed how serious the situation was. It was not just about a few delayed flights. It was about big cuts that changed many people's lives and hurt the nation's economy. 5. People and plans change. The new flight cuts greatly changed life for many people. Millions of Americans had to change their plans quickly. It was a big shock for travelers. People rushed to find new flights or other ways to go where they needed. Many families worried about missing Thanksgiving gatherings. This holiday is very important for people to meet with relatives. Business travelers also had problems. Their schedules changed suddenly, causing stress. Airlines tried to help passengers. Companies like United, Delta, and American gave refunds to people who chose not to travel. Even if tickets were usually non-refundable, people could get their money back. This was unusual and showed how serious the crisis was. Some airlines told worried travelers to buy backup tickets with different companies. This was to make sure they could still reach their destinations. People looked for other ways to travel across the country. They thought about rental cars, trains, or buses instead of planes. Families with Thanksgiving plans had to make quick decisions. They wondered if they should leave earlier or change their travel dates completely. The government gave very short notice about these flight cuts, less than 2 days. This meant passengers had little time to understand the changes and make new plans. The problems were not only for people flying. The situation also affected package deliveries. 2 important places for big package companies, FedEx in Memphis and UPS in Louisville, were on the list for flight reductions. These centers handle many packages, especially before holidays. Delivery services warned of possible disruptions and delays in sending packages to customers. International travel also faced issues. Flights to other countries were not cut directly, but problems still happened. Global airlines operating in the United States had changes to their schedules. People flying from other countries with connecting flights through American airports also felt the effects. Canadian airlines like Air Canada warned their passengers could face disruptions because they fly often to the U.S. The shutdown made many people rethink their travel plans. 6. A system in trouble. The problems in the United States air travel system did not start with the government shutdown. In truth, many issues had been growing for several years. Before the shutdown began in October 2025, the system was already weak. It was like a building with many old cracks, and the shutdown was a very big storm that made those cracks much larger and more dangerous. The people who safely guide airplanes in the sky, the air traffic controllers, were too few. For a long time, the Federal Aviation Administration, known as the FAA, did not have enough staff. There should have been more controllers working across the country, but about 3,000 positions remained empty. This meant that many air traffic control centers did not have the right number of workers. They were very understaffed, often operating with only 91% of the people they truly needed. Because there were not enough controllers, the ones who were working had to do a lot more. They often worked very long hours, sometimes more than 60 hours in a single week. Many had to work extra days, even 6 days a week, just to keep the system running. This constant demand meant they were often tired and stressed even before the shutdown. This was not a new or sudden issue for them. It had been their normal work life for a long time. They were always pushed to their limits. The government also faced problems with hiring and training new controllers. The FAA could only train about 1,200 new people each year. However, at the same time, many experienced controllers left their jobs. They retired, decided to change careers, or simply got too tired and burned out to continue with such a demanding job. Because of this, the number of new controllers was not enough to fill all the empty spots and replace those who left. The air traffic control system was always struggling to catch up and maintain safe staffing levels. When the government shutdown happened, it made all these existing problems much, much worse. Controllers were already exhausted and stressed from their demanding schedules and long hours. Then they suddenly had to work without getting their paychecks. This financial and emotional pressure became the final big problem for a system that was already struggling badly. The shutdown pushed the air traffic control system to its absolute breaking point. It clearly showed how weak the system had become over many years, proving that the crisis was not just about the shutdown itself, but about a long history of neglect and understaffing coming to a head. 7. Who is to blame? When hundreds of flights were canceled, a big question came up. Was this about keeping people safe, or was it a game of politics? People wondered who was truly responsible for the chaos. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy and FAA Administrator Brian Bedford stated clearly that the flight cuts were necessary for safety. They explained that the air traffic control system was under great stress. Many air traffic controllers were working for weeks without pay. This made them tired and worried about their own money problems. It was hard for them to focus on their very important jobs. The government said that with fewer healthy and focused controllers, the system could not handle all the usual flights safely. So, cutting flights was a way to lower the risk of accidents and protect people. But some people believed the cuts had another purpose. They thought it was a political move. The idea was to make travel difficult for millions of people. This would then put pressure on politicians in Congress to stop fighting and end the government shutdown. When flights were canceled, many people became angry and worried. They called their leaders in Washington, D.C. They wanted the shutdown to end quickly. Some thought this public unhappiness was exactly what some parts of the government wanted. It was a way to make politicians compromise and agree on a budget faster. Donald Trump's administration, however, denied this charge. Secretary Duffy stated that the decision was only about the safety of people flying, not about political advantage. They denied that they were using the flight cuts to gain leverage in the budget talks. But Representative Rick Larson, a Democrat, asked for clear safety information. He questioned if safety reasons fully explained why the cuts happened when they did. He and other Democrats wondered if the decision was really just about safety. The truth was not clear to everyone. It was hard to see clearly if the government was truly protecting everyone who flew, or if it was trying to force a political agreement. The line between keeping people safe and playing political games became very blurry during this time. The flight cancellations certainly put a lot of pressure on all the politicians involved in the shutdown. Everyone understood that the longer the shutdown went on, the worse things would get for everyday people and the economy. 8. The end of the line. The flight problems were not just about planes. They showed a big problem in how the government worked. When politicians could not agree, the whole country felt it. This crisis clearly showed the impact of political failure on everyone. The government shutdown hurt many people. Essential workers like air traffic controllers worked without pay for weeks. This caused much stress and money problems for them. Some had to get second jobs just to pay for food and rent, leading to exhaustion and worry. Regular families also felt the pain. Millions worried about missing Thanksgiving. They had to change plans quickly, find new flights, or use cars or trains. This upset many and caused big changes in their lives. Package deliveries also slowed down, affecting businesses and people waiting for items. The country's economy lost a lot of money. The shutdown cost about $15 billion each week. Some of these losses became permanent. This showed how bad it was when the government failed to agree on funding. These flight cancellations left a deep mark on the nation's travel system. The system was already weak from years of understaffing. The shutdown made these long-term problems even worse. Many people questioned if air travel could be truly safe and strong in the future with such political fights. Even after the government shutdown ended, problems would not go away quickly. The flight system needed time to recover. It would take a long time to fix staffing issues and make essential workers feel secure and valued again. Full recovery would be slow. This whole event made people think hard about politics. It showed what happens when leaders cannot work together for the nation's good. It made everyone ask, can our country's vital systems stay strong if political fights keep causing such serious disruptions? What can be done to prevent this from happening again?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.